So yeah, I'm gonna say the hard stuff, and I don't care what people think at this point because it makes sense. Studying Greek mythology and or Greek history. So Medusa is one of the characters in Greek history that is being put in the category of Greek mythology, but it really isn't because she actually was a mortal, and she was actually one of the priestesses of Athena, who then she was seduced by Poseidon, and she broke her faith or whatever of celibacy, her vow of celibacy, and then that's when Athena cast a spell on her and aged her. And so it's interesting. I'm going to say this is interesting. I visited someone a couple years ago who I hadn't seen in a long time. And I saw her and I'm just like, oh my God. Like when I first saw her, I was like, whoa. It was like the weirdest sensation. She just looked like she aged such, like I hadn't seen her in like maybe 10 years. And she aged like so much. And it almost looked like Medusa. And that's what happens, during this, watching our friends and family die, and then we accelerate the aging process through, alcohol, through drugs, through, a lot of sex. When you're playing with your spirits, when you're playing with your hormones, when you're trying to bring up one predominant hormone all the time, whether it's oxytocin, whether it's adrenaline, whether it's like the human growth hormone or some kind of steroid, whether it's any kind of specific hormone where it would emulate something godlike, or you're playing with your endocrine glands, with the endocannabinoids, okay? See, people who smoke a lot of pot are falling apart. When you're young, you can afford a bit because you'll age like everybody else, and some people do grow old gracefully until they don't, until they hit the wall, and oh my God, that's when they start getting more diagnosable conditions to then warrant them to smoke more pot or more alcohol so they can anesthetize themselves so they don't feel their life. And so that makes sense. Spirits, wine spirits. Is it Dionysus is the one, the god of wine or something? There are specific gods for, and that's what the corruption on earth. Now, we wouldn't call them fallen angels because they gave us the yin and the yang. They gave us the good and they gave us the evil, which is all relative to perspective. And then we as humans balance out our biochemistry, balance out our spirits. But what does that mean? Going to pharmakia, going to the pharmaceuticals industry and getting somebody to go inject us, to poke us, to prod us, to balance ourselves out with their potions. And so this really then makes a lot of sense in my childhood. It makes sense what my mom was talking about, better life through chemistry, relative to how you use chemistry. The whole Disney, the Illuminati, this whole satanic thing, which isn't satanic, it's just Greek mythology. It's all the Greek characters, the Minotaur. Okay, and then, what did John say? Jason the Argonauts. Every single story that you've read in a Greek history, Greek mythology, Sinbad, that's all shit that happened in the past. We're reading actual history that's being posed as allegory stories of mythology. That is the deception of humanity. That is the deception of humanity. Because that missing link between Neanderthal and some kind of really low-level caveman to then intelligent life, to where we are now in a thriving civilization from way back in Sumer to all the way to today. It didn't happen by accident. But it's not a big deal if you know how to balance it out. Because remember, the gods were immortal. They were light. We are light if we actually give ourselves the light. What made them immortal is that they were light, and then they added in the covalent bonding, which was the ambrosia, the honey mead. And that's what gave them form, gave them the immortality. And so we actually have that possibility of immortality But we have to get out of our own way. We have to stop demonizing things, places, people, places, and things, and understand balance. Understand that, yes, from 7 billion to 500 million is the whole key, and you could be the one to be part of the 500 million. But you have to give the energy to yourself. Hey, John. I gotta turn my microwave off. I'm defrosting. And so, yeah, we all are hybrids. Some of us don't even know our power. And so, yeah, when you're going and drinking all the time and doing drugs and smoking your pot, you're anesthetizing your body, mind, and spirit. And that is a slave mentality. That's what they did to the slaves so they can feel okay with being a slave way back when and even today. Whether it's distracting people with toys, with just all these different distractions, amusement parks. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. But when you're constantly distracting yourself in between your priorities, when do you have time to study where you came from besides having to go to a church every Sunday where someone tells you through their filters where you came from and then what you should do for the week? See, that's the thing, is that we have allowed people to tell us where we came from. We never actually explored and put it all together, but now finally through the internet, we've taken all the people that have been exploited in every single industry so they can build their infrastructure. And we have taken away from academia and said, okay, we're going to now utilize the same best minds, not for the intentions of academia and then the corporations, but to truly find out where we came from and who we are as people and why we do what the hell we do. And then to mitigate risk. Not live in fear, but mitigate risk. Huge difference. It's not a coincidence that my dog, his name is Sugar. It's not a coincidence that I got into the insurance industry. It's a government industry, yes. I passed all the insurance exams in California and Ohio, which I knew how to brainwash myself into memorizing shit. That's how powerful, even before the JJs, that's how powerful the human mind is when it knows how to memorize stuff. And then I really didn't have to use it again because then I learned the way of the company, which is, how do you get a client? And then you kind of play in the gray areas. Okay. And so everything in my life has been for a reason. Your life is not a coincidence. My life is not a coincidence. We all are playing a part. We're either somebody else's example or we're the ones that are going to drive the example. And that's how you have to play it. You could be the example, and whatever that is, you could be an example of what to do or of what not to do. We all have choices now. And so the more that you have access to choices, the more the gods, like Mike Honcho was saying, if they give you a choice and they tell you what they're going to do, and then they give you a choice, chocolate or vanilla, this or that, and then you choose vanilla, which has major ramifications, but they told you all the ramifications behind chocolate and vanilla, and you chose vanilla, then you really can't blame anyone but yourself. So you have the J juice, in the book, it says every single predisposition, which is pain is healing, is probably going to happen if you've ever experienced it. No one misled you, though people like to say they were misled. No, I was pretty frank, and that was why the controversy around J juice is no one wants to feel their fucking pain. Oh, I feel pain. Well, no shit. You can't claim ignorance when you were told and you actually came into this under all of the controversy and you were part of the controversy. So nobody can claim ignorance when they go into the J juice, because guess what? J juice has so much controversy that you'd be an idiot to enter into it without knowing what the hell you're doing or doing a little bit of research. It's not much research to do J juice. It's research behind J juice, yes, but it's not research really to see who J juice is and what people's perception. So J juice it's an intention. It's not an accident. Oh, I actually took J juice. Because let me tell you, it doesn't taste great and you're going to feel all kinds of ways. This ain't a soda. J juice is not a soda. And just like everything else that you do, everything has intention. Everything you do has purpose. When you take a pill, powder, supplement, detox, whatever, you have a purpose to suppress that pain. When you're out there drinking and smoking and doing drugs, I smoke cigarettes, yes, but you know what? That causes cancer. And guess what? I won't get cancer. You know why? Because cancer is growth. And guess what? I've already redistributed my hormones so that way I can actually handle the growth process. I release the excess and I have growth. And so guess what? I smoke cigarettes. But smoking pot is a whole other thing. But if you're on J juice, you could do everything a little bit at a time, as long as you have the ability to handle it. It's only drugs is if it's using it for relieving issues, it's like a remedy. If you're smoking pot, you're smoking. So that's why people are so proud of themselves when they quit smoking cigarettes, because on a body that's at a deficit, they can't handle the lung cancer, because that's growth. That's what cancer is. It's growth. It's growth that people can't handle because they're leaking on the back end. So I'm just like, holy shit. Now I could probably drink alcohol, but I really don't want to. I could play with my spirits. I do maybe with a couple cigarettes a day and drink coffee. I could afford to go have a drink once or twice or every single night if I really wanted to, but I don't want to. I really don't drink every night. Because at some point, those spirits will take over. Because then you have to drink a shit ton of J juice, eat a bunch of food to balance out the biochemistry in your body so the spirits don't take over, which are in the alcohol. And so that way your humanity can be balanced out with your divinity. That's the whole point of the J juice, is balancing your humanity and your divinity together, and then having to let go of a lot of that spiritual stuff that is causing your issues, because your people are taken over by certain hormones that cause them to be obese or too skinny or have thyroid issues. I mean, every single disease is the fact that there is an imbalance in their divinity, in their biochemistry. And then when they get older, then Medusa comes out. And that's why people get really mean as they get older. They become more narrower. They totally lack evolution. And it's a little crazy watching people get older. And so if you find yourself older and you're crotchety and you're mean with vinegar, or you withhold respect and love, except for very certain people, and you're narrow-minded, and you can't wait to attack a person, place, or thing, whatever they are, you're turning into Medusa. And so, go look at pictures on the internet of people of different generational ages. When you see what a person is like when they're aging, they look like Medusa. You want to stop that. You want to get back to your youth and vitality. And that's why the older women have an issue with the younger women, because they wish they could be that again. And they haven't figured out how to harness the eternal youth, because they allowed the biochemistry of their body to become so imbalanced that certain spirits in their body take over. And a Medusa-like persona sets in as people get older. Some can kind of harness that and temper it and not be so mean and vinegary and biting, but you've seen some pretty vinegary octo-septuagenarians that you don't want to fuck with. I certainly wouldn't. And so yes, sorcery is what it is, but or if you don't have the sorcery and the pharmakia, then what? You go back to being a caveman where you have no intelligence. There's balance. That's why you can't get mad at big pharma. They have given you the gift of intelligence. They have harnessed the spirit of the gods, put it into a lab. Now you have the ability to actually advance yourself and sustain a balanced body to handle their innovation through the J juice, But yeah, you're going to have to deal with your predispositions, the imbalances that you fostered for years through no fault of your own, through the ignorance, because you thought that the holistic community was so much better than allopathic. No, it's the same thing. When you're taking a homeopathic type of stuff, when you see these witches or whoever got good love for them, witches are great, but they're taking herbs from the garden and they're putting it in like a mortar thing with a little thing that goes like this. That's no different than somebody in a freaking lab with a white coat, maybe missing the hat. Just because they wear filmy clothes and they look like they're some fairy princess with a pretty face makes you think they're different. No, they're not. A priestess that uses spells and casts spells and plays with herbs so they can suppress your evolution is no different than a lab coat. You guys are totally under the impression that there's a difference between the two. There is no difference. And guess what? That's why you have the Wicked Witch of the West, the Wicked Witch of the East. That's when Snow White and Cinderella and all the different, pretty fairies, they take all those herbs and all that stuff. They don't balance our body right. They're probably missing the sugar and the salt. And they're playing with spirits like alcohol and drugs and lots of sex, right? And eventually turn into someone like Medusa. Someone like the Wicked Witch of the West and the Wicked Witch of the East. That's all sorcery that means to age you. Okay? You have to understand why drugs and alcohol are legalized for the most part. Why cannabis is legalized. Because they know that that's a way to control your aging process to where it could speed it up or maybe slow it down for a minute, but it's still going to cause you the aging process. I have people in my world or in my old world that are dealing with autoimmune disorders, and they're doing their pot. They're in a California doing pot every single day, and guess what? Their body is falling apart. Whether it's their eyes are going out, their hair is falling out, things are happening bit by bit. They're around my age. Imagine you're 30, in the next 10 years, you're still doing pot. You're not doing J juice. You're going to be falling apart no different than what happens from Snow White to the Wicked Witch when she's offering the apple. And then go look at your parents and go look at your grandparents. Medusa is not far behind. I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm just giving you the fucking facts. If you value youth and vitality and clear-headedness and productivity, you wouldn't fuck up your body the way you are, whether alcohol or drugs. You would treat your body like a temple, like you respect it. Like it's trying to respect you, but you keep suppressing the evolution. I got into a little bit of the pot here and there, but it was never to what some people do it. People worship that stuff. I will never worship drugs like that. Ever. But I'm going to go take care of my stuff. But I just wanted you guys to understand that, yeah, these characters in Greek mythology, it's a reality. And we all are exemplifying the archetypes of Greek reality mythology. So if you want to be a Medusa, end up like Medusa, or you want to be Athena, youth, you want to be a mixture of Aphrodite and all the different beautiful goddesses. Time to take your body, mind, and spirit back. Stop giving it away to other people who have no idea the value of you as a human, part divine. All right, bye.